Welcome into IllinoisPrep.com. I'm Eric Seals with Bob Geiger of Dystat, Illinois. How you doing, Bob?
Good. How you doing?
Originally, and I don't know why I thought about this, the show was named False Start. First thing that came in my head when I thought about a track show. But Bob, just behind the scenes, told me you can't call it False Start because that's a disqualification.
No, definitely not. No.
So he came up with a new name in about 2.5 seconds. And so the new name of the show is going to be Out of the Blocks.
And I'm going to copyright that?
And he's going to copyright that and charge me. Pay me, yeah. Thank you.
There we go.
Like Illinois Prep is making enough money as it is. So we have the Illinois Prep Top Times meet coming up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, tell the people a little bit who don't know already, you know, what they can expect out of the meet. You know, some of the big things that have happened at this meet in the past years. Like, what is it about this meet that makes it so special?
Well, you get it's basically the unofficial state meet for the indoor season. We enter the top athletes from around the state that are available, and they come down and they put in their top performances for all of them. Basically, it's the last indoor meet of the season for them, and so they're going to come down there and try and run their best before they head to outdoor season. We get over 2,000 athletes over the three classes. We have over 300 schools registered from throughout the whole state. So when you bring in that type of competition, you're going to see something big happen.
Now, is this more of an individual meet since, you know, each team might only have one person represent them, or is it more of a team thing?
No, this is more of an individual representation, which is, you know, part of the reason, and this is something that's going to change. We have schools that don't come because their priority is and their focus is on the team. Next year at Illinois Prep Top Times, we are going to have team scoring and we're going to award team trophies. And so hopefully that'll attract some more of the top competition. Okay. And it's something that'll bring a unique dynamic to the meet. When the meet first started in 1989, they did have team scoring. And so for the first 2 or 3 years, they gave away team trophies. And so they got away from that because of the IHSA bylaws that said you're only allowed to compete in so many meets. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to compete in 21 meets as an individual. 18 of those can count as part of your team season. So any meet that's a team scoring meet counts as one of the 18. So we're going to go from being, instead of one of the 21 to one of the 18 next year.
Okay, nice. I think a lot of people will be happy to see that team component versus the individual component.
Well, it's definitely going to bring something more to the table. You know, there'll be a lot more interest in the meet, especially as the meet goes along. Keeping track of the team scores and seeing, you know, where your team stands up. The one thing we're not going to take away is if you have more than 2 qualifiers in an event, you'll be able to compete. And so,
which Lake Park is probably happy about.
like a Lake Park, yeah. Lake Park has 3 shot putters right now that are ranked in the top 10 in the country, and you know, at most meets they're only allowed to enter 2, whereas next year they can bring those 3, and those 3 guys can count toward the team scoring.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I'm sure Lake Park and many other schools who have a lot of athletes would be appreciative of that rule.
Sure.
What are some of the big matchups that you think that we're going to see at the Illinois Prep Top Times meet this year?
Well, I'm a little biased, but
okay.
I'm liking that girls 200. You know,
okay.
I know Raina Roan was just here, and I've got to say I'm really excited with the way she's been performing lately. Mm-hmm. And I know Aaliyah Brown is really tough, but you've got Morlecki from Wabansie Valley is in there, Cecily Smith from Plainfield North, and it's really going to be blazing on the girls' side. The girls 4x400 is going to be a great race. Mm-hmm. The girls 3200 relay, the big matchup you're watching. If you've got to pick one race to watch, that might be the one to watch because you've got Palatine's girls and Schaumburg's girls. Both have run 822 and 823. Schaumburg is returning. They're returning all 4 members of the state championship 4x8 last year. Okay. And Palatine, if you watch what they did in cross country, Palatine and Schaumburg went at it all season long. And this, I believe, is going to be their first matchup with both fully loaded 4x800 teams. So that race is going to be pretty exciting. You know, those 2 will be going at it, and the race for third isn't going to be a slouch either.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of fast times. A lot of people are going to be moving. A lot of people, it seems like there's going to be a, you know, I mean, comparing the indoor season and the outdoor season, do you think, like, I know for me, you know, I ran track, but the indoor season was definitely more my thing just because I was very, very, very short distance runner. I couldn't, you know, compete with some people in the 100 compared to, you know, racing against them in the 50.
You know, different people do get better at indoors than outdoors depending on a lot of different things. Generally speaking, the indoor tracks are smaller, so the advantage tends to be to a shorter runner. They're able to handle the turns a little bit better. They've got a lower center of gravity, and so they can compete well. Pole vaulters love being indoors. Pole vaulters and high jumpers because they don't have to worry about the wind. Same thing, long and triple jumpers really, and they don't have to worry about the wind at all. And so they go out and they really just focus on their technique and they go for great heights. It's very often we'll see pole vaulters set their PRs indoors and have a lot of trouble matching that outdoors. So that's something that just to keep in mind when you're watching an indoor meet as compared to an outdoor meet.
Okay. Now, what about from a coach's perspective? Does the training change for you guys? Are you guys doing stuff different? You have Raina who's running the 400. The amount of turns that she has to do compared to outdoors is completely different. Like her race changes. So as a coach, do you put your team through different training?
It's not so much the training is different as the wear and tear on the body is. Especially coming from Whitney Young, we don't have an indoor track or an outdoor track. Okay. So when we train indoors, we do a lot of work in the hallway, which is it's
hard on the knees.
Yeah, well, it's hard on everything. Especially we have 90-degree turns, and so we're really limited with the the amount we can do there, and we have to make a lot of adjustments. When we get outdoors, we do travel. We have to go 10 miles to get to a track. We go down from Whitney Young to Jackson Park and get on the one of the few public tracks that are available to kids in the city, and so their bodies tend to not break down as much, and I'm sure it's the same way, in other places, you're able to get out and do more, and do more things that are appropriate. Distance runners are able to train a little bit better outdoors. They're able to get in more mileage, especially when it's, the weather is inclement as it's been, in Chicago, that tends to, distance runners tend to have to do more stuff indoors. If they have access to a treadmill, they're lucky, and if they're able to handle that type of training, it helps. But generally, getting outdoors is a blessing to everyone. Yeah.
Looking at some of the people who are definitely going to be dominating, you were talking about Lake Park, Klein brothers, have Greg Block. As I've been doing some research and looking, I jump on the message boards like a lot of other people and, read about what's going on. And it seems like a lot of people aren't a fan of how Lake Park won their state championship last year, and the reason is because people saying, well, it's a team sport and only a few people represent their team. They just really dominated the meet. And I guess for me, it doesn't bother me as much. Those are the rules. That's how it's set up. Now, if you want to change the rules and say, you have to have X, Y, and Z to, be a state champion or something like that, then, right, that's the case. But I mean, your thought process on that?
It definitely presents a different perspective, being a coach. I know the relays are, they're fun to watch and they're exciting, and they're also very important and very vital. As a high school athlete myself, my team won state, and we only scored on the track in the 4x800 relay and the 4x400 relay. We scored all of our points. We had 18 points out of the triple jump. We had some phenomenal field events guys. And so I could definitely see a lot of people talking about, relays should count double, kind of like they do in
swimming. Yeah.
Right. And there's definitely a beneficial argument to that. But, now as a coach, I have an athlete like at Whitney Young, like Raina Roan, where I can take her and,
she's run several events.
But she's more valuable to me as an individual athlete, because in an individual event, she could win that event and she's worth 10 points to me. Whereas if I put her on a relay combined with the other 4 athletes and they win, she's worth 2.5 points to me. So exactly. It's really, you try to put together your best relays with the athletes who aren't going to score for you in individual events, and you save your individuals for the individual events, because that's where the point totals come from. Of course, yeah, you've got an opportunity to run an athlete in the relay. You run them. Raina's run our 4x100 relay the last 2 years, and because it fits into the schedule nicely. She can run that at the beginning of a meet, and it's kind of a nice opening warm-up race for her, per se. Even though they've gotten downstate, and last year they finished 10th. They just missed the finals in the 4x1, but it definitely, if it plays a role and it could fit into the athlete's schedule and they could tolerate it, definitely you put them in the relays. But when push comes to shove, you want to get the points. Your top individuals have to be in individual events.
Yeah, well, one of the most valuable people on the track to me are people who run the quarter, because you can definitely bump them up to the 8. They can definitely run the 2. Some can run the 1, so they're definitely valuable assets to the team. Well, I can't even call it false start. I messed up and was about to call it false start again. We're going to be doing this every week. Definitely going to have Bob. He's going to bring some other people from the DieStat team to give some analysis and work with us at Illinois Prep. So we definitely appreciate that.
Right.
So that's going to be it for Out of the Blocks.
There we go. I like that one better.
Named by Bob Geiger. I'm Eric Swiel. We'll see you next week.
Take care.